welcome to the Pardon the Politics podcast, season 1, episode 11. I am your co-host, Jeezy, with my partner in politics, Manny. What's good, Manny?
Man, another day, another dollar before taxes.
Hey, hey, man, that is a fact, man. We are back. We are back potting once again with a new episode. So, hello to the listeners. Thank you for tuning in. As always, we say in every episode, every week, continue to give us the feedback. Any information you guys would like for us to cover, any interaction you would like with the boys, you can follow us on social media. But yeah, we're back with another episode on this beautiful week. So how's things been going?
Man, it's been going well to the Pardon the Politics family, man. We did it again. We did it again. I hit up G's in the middle of the week with a plan for this podcast, and he said to me, why would you do that?" I'm like, "Nah, we should be good here." Nope. Immediately, just all went to hell in the handbasket, at least in terms of that plan. But hey, as is life, man. As is life. But it's been a great week, man.
I'm telling you, man, it seems like, every time that we think we got a plan on what we're going to cover, something pops up and it's like, okay, all right, let's go with another plan. And then we got to go with another. And even sometimes when we're recording, we get some live updates and we're like, oh man, like
got to bring this up.
Like this is going on. So it's been one of those weeks.
And before we hop into it, y'all, if you are listening to this podcast right now, and you have not taken your turkey out of the freezer to start thawing for Thanksgiving, it's too late. It's too late. Go ahead and start planning to go pick up that tailgate from Bojangles, because that turkey ain't getting de-thawed normally.
And look, man, I was sitting here, was it Friday night or Saturday night? And I was sitting there watching, actually it was yesterday, I was watching football and I was like, oh crap, I gotta go take that turkey out. Because if I don't take it out, we gonna be eating Bojangles, a McRib or something.
Man, so if you are listening to this podcast and you have not taken out that turkey, go do it right now. Like, go ahead, pause the episode. Go get that turkey, and then go ahead and come back and finish it out. But we want to hit y'all with that public service announcement before we got too deep into it.
So, man, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the episode. And my first thing we want to start off with is an update on the nominations that President Trump or President-elect Trump has been having. The last episode, we went through a few of them, and we had some crazy. We had some nominations that were a bit crazy, and we have an update on one in particular, and I believe we called it in the last episode.
I just didn't think it was going to happen the next week. Like,
I thought that we were going to at least be able to get to a point where we would see some hearings, we would see some back and forth, and that didn't happen. And for our listeners, we're talking about none other than Matt Gaetz. So this is the Gaetz update.
And my man was in a pickle.
Man, bro, listen. And what was crazy, because I hit the chat and told Manny, it was funny because when Gaetz went up to go speak to fellow Republicans, I guess to, round up the votes to make sure this thing will go through, they pushed JD Vance out there. I was like, oh my God, like we got
He's
a
here.
JD.
We've seen him.
We haven't seen allegedly Vice President-elect JD Vance, but we've seen a ton of
Vice President Musk.
But we hadn't seen JD since the election, and him and Gaetz were together. So you had both of the I call them the freaky boys.
Stop.
The two freaky boys got their Wonder Twin activating, trying to get up there to get some votes. And shortly after, I don't even know if it was 24 hours, Gaetz withdrew his name. So in a statement he put out saying, in regards to him withdrawing his name. He said, "I had an excellent meeting with senators yesterday, and I appreciate their thoughtful feedback." So that means they told him,
"Nah, brother, this ain't
no."
Nah.
And the incredible support of so many. Lie. While the momentum was strong, and it is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition, there is no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Thus, I will be withdrawing my name for consideration to serve as Attorney General. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready by day one. I remain fully committed to see that Donald J. Trump is the most successful president in history. I will forever be honored that President Trump nominated me to lead the Department of Justice, and I'm certain he will save America. So that was his statement following his withdrawal. And I think, like we said in the last episode, we knew this was coming.
That was a beautiful lie he wrote.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. He got in that room and they looked at him.
So when we saw that, I dropped a message to G's and was like, "Hey, y'all, he's gone." Mm-hmm. And then immediately started digging for details. And very shortly after, a couple things became apparent about what all happened. Okay. What it turns out is that morning of the 24th, Trump hit him up and essentially, I got mixed up all my words with that. Essentially gave him the Hamilton treatment and was like, "Bro, you ain't got the votes. You ain't got the votes, man. So go ahead and make your way to the exit." And then, look, there's a couple agencies you don't want on you: the FBI, the CIA, and CNN. Reporting, because allegedly, from my understanding, now I don't know the exact timing of this, CNN pulled up on him and was like, "Hey, so we have this second allegation of you sleeping with a 17-year-old. Got anything to say about that?" My understanding is the next thing that they heard from his office is that he was resigning.
Bruh.
On him.
Gates got some dirty work going on, man. And I saw a statement also that said that he has confirmed that he is not seeking to re-enter Congress either. He's gone. He's done. Yeah. So I think it's the smart move. Hey, that light gets shined on you, man. You better find darkness quick.
Well, here's the thing. He's done for now. Yeah. I think it becomes real interesting when you look at Florida. So with Marco Rubio very likely going to get approved for Secretary of State, Ron DeSantis now has to appoint his replacement. Yeah. Could Matt Gaetz be that person? You know, how does DeSantis want to play nice with Trump? You know, is there a call that's happening like, hey, who do you want in there? Does that take place? Do we see another potential Rod Blagojevich from Illinois situation that happened with the Obama seat where it went to the highest bidder? I don't know. There's some intricacies around that seat that, you know, we'll be keeping our eyes on. But at least for now, Gaetz is no longer a member of Congress, and we will be seeing him on a Fox or a Newsmax telecast very shortly, more than likely.
But if you're Gaetz, do you want to get back out there on the field? With all the attention and all the, you know, you understand that within your party, at least in the current state of where Congress is, you're not liked as much as you would hope you would be. You know, you've kind of bruised some noses up there. Yeah, and I think is that something you want to jump back in, especially we still have this ethics.
I think that's going to be the big piece on this is like what's in now. I still believe that report is going to come out. We started to see more and more things trickle out from that report, even from last week to this week. So I think eventually all the details will come out there. But I think it depends on what kind of heat that they're looking at in this. How much of a situation is he actually in? There's been no criminal charges,
and that is true. That's very true. And we want to make sure that we do mention that as much as we are poking fun at Matt Gaetz, there has not been any criminal charges. These are just alleged things that have been kind of put out there. So,
but just because there's not criminal charges does not mean something criminal hadn't been done.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
And
we shall see.
The Trump administration doesn't tend to shy away from criminal charges.
Hey man, because Trump low key be running this thing like it's like a mob operation or something. Bro. I see how that RICO charge down in Georgia kind of fit him low key. He moved like he YSL. I mean, Young Thug got a lot in common. Shout out to Georgia. Right. We love y'all. Y'all love the pod, so we appreciate y'all. But with that Gaetz update in the nominees, there were several that had already came out since our last episode. But there's one in particular that I want to bring to your attention. And that is the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, a.k.a. a black job.
He found a black job in this administration and found a black man to fill it.
He found a black man to fill it, and he filled that position with Scott Turner, or as we should probably refer to him as, Pastor Turner. Pastor Turner. So this position was filled, and before we get into Scott Turner, there's not much really to say about him to a degree. I think that if you look at his lifestyle, it's Dr. Umar approved. you can decide what I mean by that. It's Dr. Umar approved. He's a younger gentleman, and when I say younger, he's
52.
52. So 52 that's young.
Yep,
that's not old. He's a former football player, and within this capacity of the housing and urban development, he's kind of been around this area. So it's not like he has absolutely no knowledge or expertise of what he's doing in this area. But the thing that's funny about this is you had, and as you guys may know, or especially on social media, there have been two particular black men that we know are well associated with Trump. And no, I'm not talking about Herschel Walker. Bruh. So now, thank God that Herschel didn't get the nod for this position, because ain't no telling what this.
He would struggle to say the name, man.
Right.
That CTE holding tight on Herschel, man. Get that man some help.
He can't even say Trump name right. I know he ain't gonna be able to say that he's the Secretary of the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. I don't even want to hear what Herschel would say out of his mouth trying to say that title. But the two men that I'm talking about are Byron Donalds and Tim Scott. And there's been some jokes, especially if you follow us on our social media. We have thrown some jokes out about these two individuals, and neither one of them got a nod for this. And I think that's kind of odd. Why Trump wouldn't get his black boys the position?
I got no idea. Well, actually, no, I do have an idea. I do got an idea. So Turner does have a background in business. Yeah. And, so Turner's never been in an elected office. He ran for the Texas legislature and lost by 127 votes. And so super, super close. But he's been in business. And I think Trump really connects with people that have livelihoods outside of politics.
Yeah.
By and large.
Yeah.
But we also know Trump really values loyalty. And in 2019, Trump appointed Turner as the director of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council. So there's a prior interaction with him from an executive level. So I think it makes sense. Mm-hmm. I don't think there will be like a large amount of pushback. But if you look at both Donalds and
Scott.
And Scott, you have two career politicians.
Yeah.
And maybe he shies away from that. It's been, geez, something you let me know this week. Donald's had previously had some charges on him that had been sealed and then expunged. And I believe those charges, they were fraud related, correct?
One of them was, yes, trying to defraud a bank.
And look, it sounds like that Trump is okay with a whole lot of other things, but don't you be messing with the money.
Don't be messing with the bag, bro. Don't mess with the bag. And I was actually surprised when I came across those details because Donald's be moving kind of like he's squeaky clean, and he isn't. So I am curious if that could have been potentially what held him back from getting any type of nod for any role. But what about Scott though?
Now for Scott, I think this is interesting because now you got Scott who's ran twice against Trump, and you got to kind of wonder if Trump's like, man, this dude ain't loyal not to run against me. Like, I think that might have struck Trump the wrong way. So I think, I feel bad for Tim. Married this whole woman,
Man, got a whole, bro.
The
media started peddling him out there, saying that he was partaking in an alternative lifestyle, and
he went and cleaned that up real quick.
Girlfriend, and next thing you know, they got married.
Right. So I just don't think Trump trusts Tim Scott enough, being that he ran against him twice, and then also being that career politician.
Yeah.
Here's ultimately the choice. There also may be a situation. Do I think he's playing 4D chess to this level? No, but I do think people in his administration are. Is there a concern that if they take Scott out of the Senate in South Carolina, who gets appointed to fill that seat? Is there that level of gamemanship that occurs? I don't know. Yeah. That could be the case, but as of right now, and maybe all we know, maybe they're round two additions. Maybe if something pops up for somebody, he's all right. You the backup quarterback for the Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
maybe not.
Because we know some of these people ain't gonna make it to the finish line.
Not at all.
And that ain't just to get confirmed. That's after the fact, because we know that turnaround for Trump get crazy.
Right. Well, he had a chief of staff last cycle that lasted 11 days. That's wild. Wow,
that is wild.
You don't even know where the coffee maker is at this point. You ain't found that quiet bathroom in the White House.
My access badge just started working. They just got my access badge working. The next thing you know, I got to turn it in.
The people at the front desk, they're like, they recognize your face now. They don't know your name. Yep. They recognize the face. Yep. Already gone, man.
Here today, gone tomorrow.
So these two continue to be in the pickle water because the seats are filling fast, and looks like
how much their loyalty is gonna pay off, man.
It looks like they're not gonna have dates to the prom.
Can't sit here, seats taken. Give that Forrest Gump treatment. Now, we'll see how Pastor Turner does. I don't think that there's anything of concern with him, but I believe that he is, and at this current point, the one and only sole Black person that has gotten a nomination. So we can definitely identify that when it comes to Black jobs, that this position is one. Now, what would it be funny if Trump, if somewhere down the road, Trump lets him go and replaces him with a Hispanic person? Because then it'll be full circle that when he said that they're taking the Black jobs.
Right, and on top of that, you remember in the first administration, he had Magic Hands, Ben Carson running HUD. I think Trump is one thing he's going to do. He is going to find someone African American to take that job at least at this go round. So
he said that job is safe.
Got them
over there.
Right.
Now the next one of nominations that Trump has made that we want to discuss is Russ Vought.
And before we go, I'm about to Google this real quick, but isn't Vaught the name of the corporation.
Yep.
From the board.
Yep.
Okay. So.
Yep. As soon as I saw this name, I said, "Oh boy, oh boy."
So if you listened to our episode last week when we were talking about the Department of Government Efficiency, I brought up the Office of Management and Budget already existing for this purpose. Mm-hmm. Well, Trump has filled that seat with Mr. Vaughn. So, where do we begin on this?
Who is this man?
So, formerly, he had already served in this capacity, in the acting capacity. As a deputy director of the office, the OMB office, got confirmed in 2019, so held the role officially for a year. So it's a job he already knows. Now, what's interesting is that after he left the Trump administration, he headed over to the Heritage Foundation, and he was one of the key authors of Project 2025.
No.
And I want to say Trump has said again that he has never read Project 2025, and I want to say that I believe him 10,000% that Trump has never read Project 2025, mostly because it's probably too long and there's not enough pictures. Right. But again, to put the person who kind of architected and for the struggle that the campaign had to try to distance themselves from Project 2025, you now have the person in the office to help implement that.
And the thing that's crazy about that, man, is like you said, he was so adamant to distance himself from it. But I believe that part of one of the chapters that Russ wrote in Project 2025 argued that the president must rein in a sprawling federal bureaucracy and laid out in part how the OMB could help consolidate Trump's executive power. So, I mean, like he's detailed in this book how he would do the very thing that Trump distanced himself from, but he's now in that position to do what he wrote.
So, all right. So this is where we're gonna hit a little bit of my Republican stances.
Okay.
I hate big government. And I think that there needs to be we need to control the size, because as it gets bigger, it gets more expensive. And as things get bigger, they get less efficient. They help the people less and less. Mm-hmm. But Project 2025 is, again, pretty wild. Mm-hmm. And then also let's acknowledge every think tank across the nation, liberal or conservative, has some type of plan like this that exists. Big difference between the conservatives and the liberals is a lot of it flows through the Heritage Foundation, where the liberals tend to be a little bit more fractured with various organizations doing it. So for our listeners, how could they end up implementing this? You know, how does Vaughn in this role really help implement Project 2025? Where there's a couple ways. One is through budget controls. Basically, because it's the office that manages the budget for the country and Congress, you know, defunding initiatives that they don't like and funding their priorities. The one piece that I do like is this zero-based budgeting. Like, let's stop spending more than we actually take in.
Yeah.
Let's lessen the deficit so we can handle the long-term debt. The next piece is through regulatory reforms. You know, streamlining and eliminating regulations, fast-tracking deregulations. The third piece is through restructuring federal agencies, like a DOJ. You know, how are we restructuring? So maybe this group does this and this group does that. But in doing that, you kind of centralize the oversight through him and making sure that they're implementing policies. And then on top of that, policy, obviously working with the Trump administration and Congress to implement policy to make sure it lines up, and their legislative strategy. Now, the question I have here, and it was the question that I left last podcast with, was how is the Department of Government of Doge going to actually work? Because essentially they are the same thing. Or at least what I believe the same thing. And where I finally have landed in my head about this is what I think Doge is going to do is I think the OMB is going to still focus on like budgets, regulating bills. What I think ultimately Doge is going to do is look at a bunch of regulations and try to get rid of them, because that is going to be the fastest way to pare down government. My concern around that is you just can't go and start ripping out regulations. Why? Because companies are going to very quickly modify to that. And in most cases, with how slow government moves in general, you're going to hurt people because there's going to be a use case that you didn't think of as you're ripping out this new this old regulation that's going to hurt people. But what I do ultimately see is that Vaughn is going to work very closely with evil Iron Man, Elon Musk. Bruh. Evil Iron Man.
No one man should have all that power.
Bruh. Had Trump out down in Texas to look, Elon, if you are listening to this, I would love to come down to Texas and see y'all catch this spaceship with the two chopsticks.
With two chopsticks. I got to see it.
That's wild. That's wild. I think it is an amazing technological advancement that you were able to do in 10 years. But this is all going to be weird. I think Vaughn and Musk are going to work very closely to each other. I just hope that they do this in a non-painful way. Do I believe government is inefficient in cases? Yes. Do I believe there needs to be massive overhaul? Yes, but it has to be thoughtfully planned and none of this, hey, if you're an even or odd number, you know, go ahead and get out because we're firing you. That's stupid.
Yeah. And then I think I heard them say that in doing so with these cuts that they would give employees like a 2-year severance package. And I'm like,
look,
I'll take it.
Look, wait, well, no, can a brother get a government job real quick?
Yeah, brother. We got between now and January 20th to get us
get us some government.
If we got anybody that listen to the pod, if you work in DC, let the boys know. I'll take the janitor job,
bro. Give me two. Look, you give me what I make, and then go ahead and fire me. Yep. Boy, me and Jeezy will turn this into a daily podcast.
Oh, bro, we dropping an episode
every day, every day at least.
I got a 2-year severance. Thank you, evil Iron Man.
We appreciate it,
bro. But we'll see what happens with it. But I think, and even in that, what you're saying, Manny, I see Vaughn and Musk working hand in hand, but then it sounds just so congested because now you throw Vivek in there too. Like that's why
I still don't know why he's in there.
I don't either, and that's what tripped me out. If y'all gonna be government efficiency, then why is there two people? And if you're gonna be working hand in hand with OMB, that just sounds like a lot to me.
If the Republican goal is to have a smaller government, you're going to go and create a new department. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, especially when there's a group who's already responsible for it. And like we said last week, they review every bill that comes across and say, hey, it's going to cost X. Then this year will be this and this and this. And every year Congress goes, that's cool. Anyways, we're going to do this anyways. Like, so again, it's the representatives that we have in Congress. They have to be more respectful of the actual budget if we're going to rein in government spending in any capacity.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. So we'll see how Russ plays out. He has to go through confirmation. And if we see anything on social media of them two, between him and Evil Iron Man hanging out together, then we know that they're formulating that plan. But we want to for our listeners, keep an eye out on how that plays out, because Manny gave us some really great details of how, if they come in and they approach this at the wrong angle, how this could really be painful for the government and for a lot of people. So if it does turn out to be that way, know that the boys at the pod informed you first of how this was going to play out. So we shall see. So with that being said, we will jump over into our next topic.
We coming back home, y'all. We back. We haven't really talked about North Carolina very deeply.
We haven't
over the past couple of weeks, just because everything was on and popping nationally. But we're coming home.
We're back home, and in that we are going to talk about a massive Senate bill that came out this past week. Senate Bill 382. And in this Senate bill, there were some things that were catered to disaster relief and recovery provisions, which we know this was something that was needed for those that were affected by the Hurricane Helene. And if you are familiar with North Carolina, Roy actually was in D.C. speaking to Congress and those individuals to get the necessary recovery resources that were needed to help aid those that were affected by the hurricane. But in this bill, and we're going to talk about it, is not just hurricane relief. That's not what the bill is in totality. And we'll talk about that. But I first wanted to go through just the disaster relief and recovery provisions first. And the first part of it was the funding allocations, and Hurricane Helene Recovery Fund was $227 million transferred from the savings reserve. And those funds remain unspent until there was an appropriate time for a targeted disaster relief. So 227. You think that's a fair number, Manny?
I mean, it's an okay number. There.
Okay.
You know, I was talking with one of our followers on Blue Sky, and hopefully at some point we'll be able to have them come on the pod to talk a little bit more about these efforts. Mm-hmm. I think 227 is a number. I think they've had problems in terms of no one really knows how much this cleanup is actually going to cost. And I think up to date from the state, I believe the number I heard was $1.5 billion has been allocated for cleanup. So they're working through that. I think it's okay. Yeah. It's why we have the rainy day fund to be able to allocate money in this capacity. But we'll just see how it goes. You know, I think early estimates is that it was going to take billions of dollars to, really rehab not only just, the area, the roads, the businesses, but it was going to there was going to have to be a continual commitment to revitalize Western North Carolina after this for the better. And this provides them that opportunity, but because even on top of that, there was another $125 million redirected just to repair infrastructure as well. Got you. So we'll see. Yeah. But there's a lot. There's a lot that needs to be done. And it's a process.
And you've made that point before that you said earlier, and I think that it still rings as loud as it did when you said it before, that no one really knows the extent of the damage and what is truly needed. I believe we talked about it in a previous episode when it came to the amount of money they were giving people, and people saying, "Well, okay, well that's not that's not enough," or I believe it was our misinformation episode that we talked about that. But it's a start because no one really knows the extent of the damage. So it's something to try to at least get in there and figure out exactly what needs to be done. So I felt the same way too, that it was an okay number. You got debris removal. They have $25 million allocated for debris clearing under the stream flow rehabilitation assistance program. And this excludes any activities covered by the federal funding.
Yep.
So you had 2 million provided for technical support and temporary staffing in affected areas, and that's under the category of the soil and water conservation. Permits and licenses are extended until 2027 and beyond, and they're temporary waivers allowing expedited emergency actions for water systems and sediment controls. Public service adjustments that they needed for emergency flexibility for local government operations include temporary housing connections to wastewater systems, transportation repairs, 125 million to redirect it to rebuild and repair infrastructure damaged by the hurricane, and that's major too. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that, and I haven't been myself, but there's only so far you can get before there's nowhere to go.
Right.
And if you've
at some point the road ends.
Yeah, that road ends. And if you've ever been to the western side of North Carolina, it's a tricky infrastructure to navigate through as far as road wise. So with those being knocked out, and then you have a lot of the mountain areas, and a lot of that I'm sure has to be secured. I believe sometimes if you drive in certain areas, there's actually nets to catch boulders or rocks that may fall and stuff. All that's gonna have to be redone.
And good, like
it's needed.
It's needed. It's needed. I think if you look across our infrastructure across the United States, like there have been movements at the federal level to really invest in our infrastructure, but it's obvious that more is needed. Yeah. So this does provide an opportunity for us to do it. Now, I hate that it had to be in the way that it had to be. Yeah. We could just, make moves to really go ahead and invest in our infrastructure and how we envision our future. We can go ahead and make those investments now and not wait for hundreds of thousands of people to be catastrophically impacted because of our own inaction. Yep.
I completely agree. Now that number 125 million kind of made me like, is that enough?
Probably not.
I felt like it's not, and I often feel like sometimes too, and it could just be me personally, but I feel like infrastructure to an extent does not get the attention that it needs. I feel like it's often shortchanged. I mean, you can see the same. I'm using this is a simple example, but you can see a pothole on the road, and I mean, instead of really the whole road is terrible, but they'll keep filling that hole 1,000 times. Like, I just feel like infrastructure does not get the attention that it should, even down to if you look at some of the weather that's going on in Texas, where they had like I think it was a couple of years ago, where they had like that ice storm in Texas, and their infrastructure is so terrible that it crippled them. I mean,
and you think about Texas, like it is a state that is focused on heat. Yeah. So, you look at how you're going to construct roads in Texas is going to be different than how you construct roads in Colorado, where there's going to be freezing, there's going to be expansion and contracting of the roads as the temperatures change. If I'm not expecting that, 30 years ago when we first originally built this road, it's not going to be able to sustain as it is right now with our current structures. So we got to keep the environment in mind as the environment experiences changes, and how do we build that resilient infrastructure so we're not dealing with this again.
Yeah, awesome point, man. So that is the first part of the bill that is catered to what we all have been looking for: relief funding for the hurricane. But then we take a slight left turn.
Boy, and the boys in the house went ham.
Yes, indeed.
And all right, so we'll start.
Gather yourself, brother.
So I really hate when we do stuff like this. Like you don't have to cram all of this into one bill, especially when you have a supermajority.
Yep.
You got the supermajority. So, you could just write separate bills to do all these things and let people really voice their opinions instead of kind of forcing the hand like was done today. Like, not today, but done earlier this week with the voting on this bill. But it is what it is. You know, they could have, this bill was 131 pages. And if they wanted to, they could have wrote 131 individual bills and passed them all. So that being said, they did some things, and we will hit on some of the bigger ones. First was funding opportunity scholarships. And I continue to be a proponent of school choice. You know, I believe school choice creates different environments that allow us to be able to place children in environments that are most successful for them when done correctly and implemented correctly. That being said, there are some people who probably don't need the opportunity scholarship. Now it caps out, I believe, around $7,000 a year per person. But come on, like, if you're making high six figures, you don't necessarily need the opportunity scholarship. You know, I'm fortunate enough to kind of be in the tech background and do well, but I don't feel like I should be able to apply for an opportunity scholarship. I don't. Now, that being said, if this is around by the time my kids get ready to hit school and that's an option that we look at taking, am I going to likely apply? Yeah. Because, you know, I'm not going to necessarily let the circumstance prevent my child from having the same type of leg up that other kids are having because of this. You know, that's $7,000 I could use towards tutoring, you know, extracurriculars. So it is. So essentially, the opportunity scholarship is available for anyone to be able to use. What's trash about it is that I think they're going to ultimately apply almost $400 million to the opportunity scholarships to deal with the backlog of people that have applied for it and it's not been approved of. But we could have created a $400 million school supply bank for teachers across the state. And I think it would have gone further than $7,000 for my kid, a kid to go to a private school it's going to impact one kid.
Yeah.
And maybe even a couple more. You talk about the teachers at the private school and all that. But $7,000, and you're looking at that in the hands of a teacher that could buy for. What could we do? What could North Carolina schools look like if we gave every teacher an allowance of $3,000 to use specifically for their classrooms? Like, man. I just believe there's a better way that we can use money.
And I completely agree. As a husband to a educator, my wife is a fourth grade teacher. They are severely underfunded, don't have the resources they need. And to Manny's point, that I can just imagine the work that could be done to help her support her kids in a better capacity with those type of resources. Yep. But, alas, here we are.
Yep. But that's not if they would have just done that, it'd been like, oh man, that's a beefy bill. But no, but wait.
There's more.
So they started messing around with some of the agencies. So they eliminated a Wake County judicial seat that was held previously by Brian Collins. Who famously also ruled against the GOP lawmakers in a 2018 lawsuit over gerrymandering and voter IDs. They also made the State Highway Patrol an independent agency, giving the legislature ability to vote down whoever Stein picks to run the agency. So previously, the Highway Patrol was directly under the Department of Public Safety, which you know what? Makes sense. So really just taking more oversight from the governor and sliding it under the legislator, shifting chairs around on a ship. They also took away the governor's ability to pick the majority of representation from you on the Utilities Commission. The one that really concerned, not concerned, it's weird. All right, so Attorney General is in charge of defending the state when it goes into kind of legal battles. Well, what they've essentially also done is said, well, now you're going to have to defend us no matter what we've done. And it forces our Attorney General to not take a position on something that is against what the legislature approves of.
That's crazy.
Really kind of taking away that independence. And that's going to be problematic.
Very problematic.
I want my judges to move independently of any legislating bodies. That's why a lot of these judge races are nonpartisan, because at the end of the day, this judge should just make the best decision, not the political decision. So that's another piece. And then the other piece that they've done is taking auditing away from the governor and slid that under the auditor for elections. And so a lot of this ultimately goes back to the gerrymandering argument that happens in North Carolina all the time. And look, gerrymandering at the heart of it is usually a complaint by the party that's not in power. So in North Carolina, Democrats are complaining about it. I believe in Pennsylvania, at one point, Republicans were complaining about it. So whoever's complaining about it is currently the group not in power. Now, the Supreme Court has already said that they're largely going to stay out of it, that hey, it's partisan gerrymandering is legal. We'll see how this kind of ebbs and flows and changes over the next couple of years. There's been talks hey, should we get an amendment on the ballot? That sounds like a great idea, because I think fair districts would pass if it got on the ballot, but that's got to go through the legislature to even be on there. So that's not happening anytime soon. But I think these conversations, these arguments over gerrymandering are going to continue to happen and evolve. But here is how I think gerrymandering finally gets addressed, so there's a somewhat stable standard across the board. I think it's going to take some level of a constitutional amendment, and I think it's going to be a bunch of the states that citizens can put up their own initiatives with ballots. And I think you get to that 2/3 mark, I believe it's 31 or 32 states, to then force that change to happen nationally. Just because the Supreme Court seems like they're not planning to dive into this battle any further than they have. But these are concerns, and we'll see what happens long term with this. I think ultimately, when you look at this as a whole, there is not a lot that will impact most North Carolinians day to day with some of these non-hurricane relief efforts. But the other part of it is we're in a lame duck session. We're hitting the last couple of weeks of Republicans having a supermajority. So it's the only amount of time that they had to be able to get this, Cooper to veto it, and then it to be shot down. So, and the only last thing that I'll say on this, I think Cooper got a lot of flack for being in D.C. While this was all happening, especially because Mark, he looking for a black job, Robinson, saying, if they pass that bill, because Cooper's gone, I'm here, I'm going to sign it. That started trending around online. And first of all, sure, Mark could have signed it, but guess what? Even if he didn't, even if Mark came out and said, I'm going to veto this, the legislature was going to override him, just like it's going to override Cooper when he signs it. So it was a moot point. I do think this is one of the rare instances where it made more sense for Cooper to be in D.C. to let them go ahead and him be there and try to lobby for more federal funds for the state. I thought that was a better use of his time. But that was a long soliloquy on me on all of this. But they were really focused on some of the statements around efficiency and really getting that efficiency across running government. And we'll see how efficient these things make it. Luckily, in North Carolina, we do zero-based budgeting. So,
Well, one thing that I felt when I saw this bill and just how massively packed it was, and we see this happen on occasions with bills, that, some people will say no to this bill. And the way it will be broadcast is we tried to get hurricane relief and you said no.
Yeah.
It is not that it's not the hurricane relief we want.
It's the poison pill.
Bingo. If you tell me that, hey, we're going to do, these are the things that we're going to do for the hurricane, and you said no. Well, did you tell everybody else about all the other stuff that are within the bill? And I think that happens so often, not just from one side, but both sides. And I think it gets used, and it's very irritating to me because we live in a society where people don't do the research. People don't do the work. They just say, oh, well, I'm not going to vote for Joe Wilson because Joe Wilson said no to the hurricane bill. Not realizing Joe Wilson said no to the hurricane bill because of these things. It had nothing to do with the hurricane. And I'm so for the point that you made that I wish that we would stop doing this packing of bills. If it's going to be the hurricane bill, let it be the hurricane bill. If you're going to address education, bring another bill that's strictly just for that. But people are kind of getting in, kind of cramming it.
I think it's important to note with this that there were 3 Republican representatives that voted no to this bill, joining Democrats. So and those 3 Republicans were from the western part of the state. So the state that is impacted they said no to this. Yeah. So it's real intriguing to see how this is going to play out. They just had new leadership elections with Destin Hall, who's now going to take over running the North Carolina House, and as one of the youngest to ever be Speaker of the House. So, congrats, Destin, on that. Again, another showing of hard work paying off. So, but I agree. Let's stop packing the bills. Let me go ahead and throw on my Rand Paul hat. We don't need to do these giant omnibus bills. For the sake of time. If you're concerned about the time it takes to get a bill through committee, well, maybe you as a representative should have taken more time and been more thoughtful about how you were doing things. Now, things like hurricane relief, responding to natural disasters and stuff, I get it. Okay. Had we had a bill for all of this and then somebody said, hey, let's put hurricane relief in this because it's already going through, then, okay, that's a different conversation we can have, but that's not the case that was happening here.
Exactly. So we will see. What is the status of this bill? Where does it go from here?
It is sitting with the governor. I don't know if you guys are listening to this, whether it's been signed or not at this standpoint, but it is with the governor. I don't believe he's vetoed it yet, but I don't think that matters because either after 10 days it becomes law anyways, or it's going to head back to the General Assembly where it will likely be very quickly overridden.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah. Well, that is Senate Bill 382. So,
when the storm ends, the policy begins.
Bruh, let me tell you, we will definitely keep you guys updated on the status of that bill and where it goes from here. But the next thing we will have is your favorite segment of the week. And you guessed it. It is our pickle of the week.
We've got your pickle. We've got your pickle. We've got your pickle.
The pickle of the week.
Who we got? Who's in the jar this week?
I think it's been someone that we have spoke of before, someone that you guys are not unfamiliar with, excuse me, and that individual will be none other than Big Benny.
Oh, Big Netty.
Big Ben Netty got himself in a pickle. If you're not aware, I believe it was Thursday, this past Thursday, arrest warrants were issued for Big Benny, and he wasn't by himself. There were some other individuals as well. But judges of the International Criminal Court of the ICC have issued arrest warrants for Israel's prime minister and his former defense minister, as well as the military commander for Hamas. So Ben has come out and said that these charges.
Oh, so they called everybody to the principal's office.
Oh yeah, bro. Everybody got called. Look, Ben couldn't even pull He couldn't even pull. Why y'all calling me? Like he didn't do something. No, they got him, the defense minister, and the commander for Hamas. Now, Big Ben has come out and said that these charges are outrageous, but we heard some stirring a few months ago of this potential charges coming up for how things have been conducted with the war they've had with Hamas. He has been accused of keeping resources from the Palestinian people to the point of there has been alleged starvation,
genocide, essentially, genocide allegations, essentially.
Yep. And, you can have your opinion on how you feel that has been taking place, but he has been widely criticized for his handling of this war. So my question is, who gonna escort Big Benny up there? Who taking him up to the big house?
Look, and I think that the next question then turns to the U.S. and Europe. Because technically, because remember, we saw this with Putin a couple months back where he flew to another country, got off the plane. Technically, if Big Netty lands in the U.S., we should be arresting him and taking him. We ain't going to do it. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it.
Well, Trump. Trump ain't going to let that happen. He's going to go to Mar-a-Lago, and he's going to be right back on the first plane out, bro.
So. This will be so is this truly just symbolic at this standpoint? This is where I personally, and to our listeners out here, I will dedicate some time to figure out what this could mean ultimately if everyone just continues to ignore the ICC. What teeth do they have to actually bring him? Are they going to go into Israel and try to roll up to the Knesset and be like, hey, Nettie, come on out. Come out.
We talk to you.
We got a warrant. Does it work like that? Can they do that? Yeah. I don't think they are. I don't think they can.
Yeah. That's an interesting point, Manny, because I thought about that as well. What power does the ICC have? Because if you just saying, hey, you got a warrant or we got charges on you and ain't nobody moving or doing nothing, then Big Netty just stay in Israel chill and ain't nothing gonna happen.
Right. I'm okay, cool.
He's still finna get off all this stuff he doing. So I mean, that ain't stopping the show. So I would be interested to see. And I gotta believe that's difficult because if he has these charges, what does that do for him as far as internationally handling any business of Israel? He can't travel. He's got to be mindful of where he's going, where he's traveling.
Right. Hit him up on the Zoom, man.
Right.
hit him up on the Zoom. He got you.
Look, if we start saying Big Benny start sending representatives in his place, then we already know what time it is. Bruh. So we will keep our eye. I'm not really worried about the defense minister or the commander of Hamas. Whatever. Right. Yeah, whatever. Okay. But Big Benny, I think, is pretty major. Yeah,
they want the big fish.
Yeah, you can keep that little 8-pound bass. We're going for the kingfish. But that is my pickle for the week, man. We'll keep an eye out and see what's going to be the deal with Big Ben. So, we have come to the end of our episode. And as you guys know, at the end of the episode, we provide you with a spotlight of the week. So, Manny, what's our spotlight this week?
Man, so y'all know we have pre-production, and me and G's talked about this one, before we hopped on. But G's, I want to let you know I have a second one that I forgot to let you know. So, so we're gonna hit them both. But here we go. The first one, I think this could also be a pickle as well. But so G's, Russia. So if you guys listened to our last episode, we said at the very end, hey, Biden administration approved for Ukraine to start using its long range missiles in Russia. Boy, and Ukraine got to work
early and often.
I think it was 36 to 48 hours before they're like letting it go. I think Ukraine knows that time is on the clock before that funding runs dry. So they got to work, but Russia, man, they are also not playing games. So for those of you who may have been distracted by any of the other thousands of things that are happening, Russia decided to respond back to Ukraine, hitting it with its missile with U.S. and European missiles. They were also sending European long-range missiles. They also sent European long-range missiles into Russia as well. Putin, being Putin, said, "I bet." So they decided that they were going to hit Ukraine's some of their military installations with their own intercontinental ballistic missile.
Oh boy!
And let me tell you,
they got some serious.
They got that heat. The Russian Ostrinkic missile, I think I'm saying it right. Boy, let me tell you, this missile moves at a reported Mach 8. This thing goes 8 times the speed of sound. Bruh. And very much in the words of Mr. Duckworth, Kendrick Lamar, sometimes you got to pop out and show people.
Show them.
And when I was reading through it, I saw the headlines like, "Oh, Russia responded." And I'm reading through the BBC article, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say Mach 10?" But that thing is fast. This fast, and being an ICBM, essentially nuclear capable. Why? That should be a concern for everybody.
I'm gonna tell you my concern. Do we got something like that,
bro?
As I told Manny when we were talking in pre-production, I need the U.S. to start doing like Kim Jong-un did. And every year I need there to be a parade somewhere where you just show off whatever kind of missiles you got. Because I need to be confident. When Manny told me this, my confidence in the United States was a little shattered because I don't know what we got. I would think that we do. I would hope that we do. But can I confirm that we have something of that magnitude? I can't.
Not at all. And maybe that's when we start talking about,
that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, maybe that's the beauty of it. Like, because let's remember, there's only been one country in the world, the history of the world, that's ever used a nuclear weapon. And it was us. We did.
Both ways. The United States and us.
Like,
not once.
Twice. Just in case you missed it. Here goes here goes a matinee. Here we go. Like,
microwave.
So I went snooping online. I was like, there's got to be some video of it, and I saw alleged video of it. I was like, ooh. To give a little bit more details on this, they said that this took 15 minutes to get from the launch site that was 620 miles away to where it hit in Ukraine. 15 minutes.
That's crazy.
That means Putin could have hit the button for it to go, gone to the bathroom, made himself a cup of coffee, and sat back down. And while he sat back down, watched the explosion.
Bro, that's dangerous.
Bro.
That's dangerous.
And then they said the missile is equipped with 6 warheads, each with 6 submunitions. Boy, this is a problem. That's a serious problem. And then Putin came out and said, he's like, "Oh yeah, we're still testing it. We're trying to make it better." Bruh.
Better.
Bruh, what?
Slow down, Putin.
Bruh, if you hear this missile, it's too late. It's too late.
And you hear something? You hear something?
Bro.
Wake up dead. You thought yourself right at the gate. Hey, you heard something? Oh, where we at?
Man,
well, I gotta hope that for the U.S., if Putin's showing off something like this, I would hope that we have something better.
We gotta have something in the chamber, right? Like
we gotta have something better. That's all I'm gonna say. We gotta have something better.
Like I gotta feel like somebody in our military was like, "Ha ha ha, that's cute." Mm-hmm. And maybe that's me being an American thinking like, "Oh yeah, we you know, we go at it. Our defense, Department of Defense has an essentially unlimited budget, and then." Allegedly dark budgets that have no authority. So I gotta assume that, we got to deal with that, or either with the aliens. Like we gotta have something, right? I hope to never find out.
I hope to never find out either, bro.
I hope to never find out.
I hope I die in confidence.
Bro, please.
That is crazy. That's something to keep an eye on, boy.
So that's my first spotlight.
Ukraine might be in a pickle then, man. If
they stayed in a pickle. This man
pulling out the big boys.
I think because after Trump gets in, and I don't know if we talked about it here, but we'll hit on it next week maybe, because we dare not set an agenda for next week before time. But I believe that there is allegedly a plan. Ukraine has asked Trump for his plans for ending the war. I think Russia has done the same. I think everyone's just tired. Yeah. And I think they both need the U.S. to come in and say, this is the plan to end it. I think Ukraine was always going to fall in line with us saying this is how this is going to end. And I think with Trump stepping into the presidency, it gives Russia a confidence to kind of go with the U.S. plan. So we'll see where that ends up being. Yeah. So that's the first spotlight.
What's this treat of a second one?
All right,
one,
so the second one, there's some rumors. So I alluded to it a little bit earlier in the episode. Okay. But there's some rumors out on the streets in Florida. So with Marco Rubio heading to be the Secretary of State. Ron DeSantis has the ability to appoint a successor. Well, there's some rumors out there that there might be a new Trump name heading to Congress potentially, with that of Laura Trump. Apparently, the name is being shopped around to a degree for potentially being appointed to be the replacement in that seat in 2 years.
Now, she is the one that took over the RNC, right?
Correct.
Man, I'm about to go to the courthouse tomorrow, bro. And I'm about to see what I got to do to change my last name to Trump. I'm about to change my last name to Trump because apparently that's all you need. That's
all you need, man.
You need the name.
So obviously long road until that appointment actually happens, because you're obviously looking at the relationship between Trump and DeSantis. What does DeSantis ultimately want to do? DeSantis could appoint himself. That is a power that he could potentially do. What are his future plans? But I think the fact that the name has even come up is very interesting. A lot of us, myself being the main one, was really hoping that this Trump saga was going to be done after this, but it may not be. It may not be.
So Gates is out, and we might potentially have a.
But yeah, and look, Gates could be an option as well to go back and fill that seat. So we may not have heard the end of Gates, but again, we have a lot of time. But that's something I just wanted to bring up. I said this is interesting. That's something worth keeping an eye on.
That is, man, because. Man, I mean, does she? Well, I guess this is a dumb question to ask. I was going to say, does she have any qualifications? But obviously, that don't matter.
I mean, between Ivanka, Laura, and the other two, if it's not going to be Ivanka that's hopping into it, Laura's the next option, because I'm definitely not placing the other two.
Hey, bro, you got to keep Don Jr. as far away as possible. Bro. He can't. He can't. They want to talk about Hunter Biden,
bro. Keep that man away from.
He was down there in Dallas at the space launch, rubbing them gums,
bro.
know what time he on.
He needs to remain with adult supervision at all times.
At all times.
Don't let him walk away from anything.
Man.
Yeah, but that's my second spotlight. So
all right. Well, we go.
Yeah.
Is there anybody you think there could be a potential dark horse, a name that people aren't thinking of that could potentially?
Who knows? You know, Rick Scott came out of nowhere in the governor's race because, you know, the governor's seat is open. So there's a lot of different moving pieces. And if the one thing that we saw with Gates stepping down is that some of the conventional rules of politics still apply. Mm-hmm. So we will see what happens there. But I'm sure there are calls happening to DeSantis probably on a daily, minimum weekly basis saying, hey, I'm interested in doing this. Yeah. And we'll see what decision he makes. If Marco is approved, that is still a big question here is if he's going to. It's not a big question. I think a lot of people are comfortable with where he stands on stuff, but he still has to be approved. There's a process for a reason.
Gotcha. Well, that is our spotlights of the week. So that is the end of the episode, guys, and we appreciate you listening. Again, like, share, follow, continue to keep up with the Pod Boys. We are grateful for your support. And we're just thankful that you guys will give us the time to give you a little bit of knowledge and some laughs as you go about your day. So that is episode 11 of season 1 here at Pardon the Politics Podcast. Manny, you got anything for the people?
Nah, I'm all good. We love you guys, and we will see you all next week.
See y'all next week. Take care.